Good afternoon, members. Welcome to this afternoon's Provost Subcommittee. Welcome to Bailey McLaren, who's joining us online, and we have apologies from Bailey Williamson, who is recovering, and we wish him a speedy recovery from his operation. Item 2 is declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest in respect of today's business? Nope. Item 3 is the minute of the meeting of the Provost Subcommittee of 23rd January 2023. Does anyone have any points on the minutes of that meeting? No, I think that the minutes can then be agreed. Can we agree the minute? Thank you.
Agreed.
We then move on to item 4, which is the civic strategy and forward planning. This is a report by the Democratic Services Manager. Mr. Henry, do you want to speak to your report?
Thank you, Provost. Good afternoon, everyone. I'll just briefly summarise the report. As members will be aware, there was a report submitted previously to the subcommittee in January of this year that summarised civic activities since the elections of May last year and outlined key future civic events. This report sets out a proposed approach in relation to future civic activity, which will shape and inform a new civic strategy that will be presented to the subcommittee together with a delivery plan in early 2024. So I'm happy to take any questions at this stage.
Thank you very much, Mr. Henry. And I think it's just important to note that this report, as it sets out in section 4, builds on the report and forward planner we had in January of this year, and the two of them will be taken together to build a comprehensive civic strategy, which will then be brought back in the future. Bailey, you have a question on the report.
Thank you, Provost, and thank you for the report. I'm very supportive of the contents here. My question is just to enable us to dive a little deeper on one aspect, the important area of equality. So I'm very happy to see that 9.2 recognises that the Provost is happy to or keen to work with the Lord Lieutenant's Office, High Constables and other civic organisations to enhance the important role that they play in modern civic life. I wonder if we could get a bit more specifics, please, about what the Provost, the civic function and the council as a whole can do to ensure that if the High Constables are going to continue to be present at council events, they will start to reflect the values of the equalities and the equalities, values and standards that the council and the community now represents. Thank you.
Thank you, Bailey. So I think it's important to note that the Civic Office has been working with the various organisations that we interact with over the course of the year, including the Society of High Constables and the Lord Lieutenancy, on how we can all have a Perth and Kinross that reflects the diversity that we are all seeking. There has been improvements made on that front in terms of the High Constables have introduced, since I became Provost, they have now introduced 3 women members. There's a woman member being sworn in this evening, and that's noted as a positive step. We are conscious that it has taken a significant time to get to that point, but they are very keen to continue to move forward in that respect. We've had some productive conversations with the Society of High Constables, and I think we will continue to have those conversations about how we can work closer on those matters and on other matters. Similarly, the Lord Lieutenant has very openly spoken about his desire to have as diverse a group of deputy lieutenants as possible. We are always seeking nominations from within the community about those who might be able to reflect a broader diversity, and the Lord Lieutenant is very keen for people to put themselves forward or put other people who may be interested in that role representing the Crown in the local area, and also help reflect the modern diversity of Britain. Hopefully that answers your question.
A short follow-up, particularly on the High Constables. Does the Society of High Constables have a published admissions criteria, and are they open about their selection procedure? And if not, has the council offered to help them in redesigning that to help it become more inclusive and open? Thank you.
In terms of their official selection procedure, I understand it to be, looking to Mr. Henry here in case he has any more information, that I believe that individuals, as long as they meet the basic criteria, are put on a list, a waiting list, and it comes round. Mr. Henry, do you have any further information?
I don't have the specific details. I can see if I can get that, you know, the information and circulate it to members of the subcommittee. Obviously, they have a constitution, which is something that the council kind of signs off on previously when it was been set up, and any changes to that. So I'm happy to seek to get that information from the society to circulate to members of the committee.
I'm also happy to invite you to join our next meeting with the Society of High Constables leadership to discuss these matters, so that you can see their commitment for yourself as well. Do members have any other questions? Bailey Ahern, and then Deputy Provost Parrott.
Thank you. Mine's just on the twinning, and I know it's quite soon afterwards, but did the meeting go ahead on the 30th? And if so, is there anything that can be fed back, or are we getting a paper at this or any other committee?
So we had a very positive and very well attended meeting. Myself and Bailey Brock and Bailey McLaren were there with a number of other councillors, and we had, I think, probably in the region of about 20 roughly representatives of civic groups from twinning groups. All the twinning groups were only asked to send a maximum of 2 representatives, so that gives you a reasonable feel for there was at least 20, and I'd say about at least more than probably 2/3 of the twinning groups across Perth and Kinross were represented at it. So it was such a successful event that we only got through half the business, and there was a request that rather than continue in going later, that we have another meeting quite quickly. So we're going to be organising another meeting shortly to conclude the other half of the business. We utilised the meeting to set out our twinning strategy, but also our commitment to twinning, which quite a number of the groups were quite pleased to hear, that we are renewing our commitment to twinning, that we're very supportive of it, and also they were keen to learn from each other. So the second meeting will be focused on sharing best practice, opportunities to share case studies. So we're going to invite different twinning groups to put in case studies about some of their experiences. For example, Dunkeld, which is twinned with, I want to say Asheville. Anyone want to correct me on that?
Provost, yeah, I think you are correct. I'm scanning my notes. Asheville, yeah, it's North Carolina, isn't it?
Yes, I think so. So
I think so. Yeah, they were quite enthusiastic.
Yes, Asheville. Anyway, they had a great. They're a fairly new twinning. They've only been going for about 5 years, but they had huge amounts of innovative practice that other groups were able to pick up on, and that we want to share. But there's lots of the more experienced traditional style of twinning groups that also have things to share around twinning visits, for example, that the newer groups don't have the experience of. So there was a keenness to share those opportunities, and that's what the second meeting will be for. And like the first meeting, all the civic leadership team in terms of the Baileys and the Deputy Provost will be invited along to that, along with the councillors who are involved with the twinnings. Okay, Deputy Provost.
Thanks very much. I certainly welcome the moves made by the High Constables Society so far in seeking greater diversity. There was discussion a while ago of the High Constable's Society developing a charitable role and purpose, much as I believe the High Constables of Leith have. Has that aspect been developed at all to your knowledge? Thanks.
So we've had conversations, just for members' awareness. The leader of the council, the chief executive, and myself met with the moderator and the vice moderator of the Society of High Constables last summer, and that was a very positive and wide-ranging conversation around equalities and charitable ambitions. So it is something that has been raised and is under discussion. In terms of development, we may hear more from their meeting this evening, and whichever civic representative is there to swear someone in can hopefully report back to the wider group on that. Okay. Bailey McLaren, you have a comment on the paper.
Well, actually, it wasn't on the paper as such. It was just referring to Bailey Ahern's question, read the meeting last Wednesday evening. I was just going to echo what you had said, that it was a very informative meeting, greatly appreciated by all who had attended, and I think they left enthused, and they were also learned of some new positives that the council can support them with, such as possibility of MIDAS training for minibus driving. Yeah, I would say a really, really good sort of meeting, and such that, yes, I would encourage us to get one timetabled, soon for them and keep the momentum rolling. So that was really what I was going to say.
I think that was definitely the mood of the meeting, and we had sort of talked almost about, oh, we'll have another one in a couple of months, and people were keen to have it as soon as possible in the next few weeks. So that is the intention. So we are looking at potential dates this month to hold that follow-up meeting, and really striking while the iron is hot, which they seemed very keen on. It was a very positive meeting, a lot more positive perhaps than we had anticipated. Attendance was very good, and there was a lot of interest in learning from each other and also understanding what role the council can play, and that we have got in terms of people like Stuart Grant, nearly 30 years of experience of supporting and organising twinning groups, visits, etc., and that they have that ability to tap into that to help them with their organising. So it was a very positive meeting, and we are, as I say, hoping to have a follow-up in the next few weeks, and as soon as we have a date, we will inform members of that. Any further questions or comments, Deputy Provost?
It's working now. No, I'm sorry I couldn't be at the meeting on the 30th. If I would have been if I could have been. I think it's a very good initiative, and it's a delight to see that it was very well received. Without over-egging the pudding, you speak of an annual forum, but is there a space perhaps, without having meetings for meeting's sake, of having a routine every 4 months or every 6 months twinning meeting that, if you like, can maintain momentum in the area of twinning, which I attach a great deal of importance to. And I think that a regular forum like that 2 or 3 times a year would help keep, if you like, the twinning pot bubbling in a way that perhaps it should. Thanks.
So I think absolutely there is a lot of enthusiasm from the meeting last week to keep momentum going. I think what we're looking at probably is doing more specific meetings which people can come along to if they're interested in. So having an annual forum of everyone, which is a general forum where we can have that exchange of here's council updating and get the feedback, and that's a more general twinning forum, but throughout the year having specific sort of workshop events where it might be focused on engagement with young people. So that was one of the themes that came out of the evening, that there was a lot of enthusiasm to do work with schools, and also to have young people on the committee looking at exchanges of young people. So that might be a theme that we might do as one of the workshops in the course of the year. And for those who are interested and want to come along, they can then come along to that. There were other topics, such as Midas and minibus. That was a surprisingly large topic in the evening. A lot of them weren't aware that the council could help them with hiring a minibus. And there was a lot of questions around the operational side of that, which a workshop event or a briefing style event lends itself to, and it just takes that out of a general, more general discussion. So I think that we are looking probably at a programme, and that we would then end up running that programme on a fairly cyclical basis, where every few years you're going to have some new members in the twinning groups who won't have attended the previous session on engagement with young people. And also, I think what we took away from it, I certainly invite Bailey McLaren and Bailey Brock, who were there, to contribute to this point. I think there were some leaders within the twinning groups who could lead on some of these things, who were very enthusiastic, have perhaps some time to put into that, where they could be a link between them and, say, a Bailey co-chairing a theme to actually pick up on, because I think there was a lot of that enthusiasm on certain topics.
Yes, definitely, Provost. There's quite a lot of sitting around that table that there was certainly A, experience, B, enthusiasm, and C, a want to evolve and change. And they left very positive. So definitely agree, Deputy Provost, suggesting sort of just timetable it cyclically, not have a meeting for meeting's sake, but maybe table it each time on a different subject matter. Certainly the Dunkeld, a virtual burn supper. Wow, that's a wonderful idea, and that's certainly something that we could probably roll out quite easily within all the groups to great success. So great, all of it.
I thought there were some interesting ideas, and the virtual burn supper was quite an interesting one from the point of view of, are there opportunities for us to do something with all of our twin towns and cities around a Scottish theme, where if we are their only Scottish twin town or city, actually there's a real opportunity for us to do, say, a St Andrew's night event or a burn supper night event, and actually that's an opportunity for us to host something that is pan PKC, enhances the PKC support, doesn't necessarily need to cost us much money in terms of its virtual and how we facilitate that, but actually is a really good opportunity again for us to provide some support, bring everyone together. I think a lot of the small ones, they struggle a lot in terms of their membership, keeping up their membership in terms of their committee, and actually taking a bit of the load off them could help make them a bit more sustainable. And that, I think, was one of the themes of the evening as well, was sustainability, funding. There's a lot of things that came out of it which we're going to take away. Bailey McLaren took a minute, which is fairly extensive, I think. So that will be out in due course, and hopefully that will provide us with lots of prompts as to where we might take future workshop sessions. Bailey, you've got a comment.
Thank you, Provost. I think just to round out on the observation about the High Constables, that just so that people know where I'm coming from here, the council has done so much good work on equalities and making sure there are voices here from all the groups of people we serve. We've achieved a negative gender pay gap, meaning that women on average in the council are paid marginally more than men. We have women in leadership positions. We have young people in some of the top seats, Provost. However, we do then have to be conscious that in spite of all that good work, we'll be judged somewhat by the company we keep. And at some of our most high profile events, we're joined and supported by the High Constables, which I'm grateful for. But it does mean we therefore need the High Constables to also go on a journey. And it won't happen any overnight, but unfortunately, by virtue of the fact that they're starting their journey only in 2022, the constables are going to have to achieve a much faster pace of change than the council has done. And so therefore, we need the high constables to run to keep up. And I'm happy to meet with them and appreciate that invitation to discuss those concerns and how they might transform faster than the council did, because by virtue of starting earlier, the council has more time, but there is now a very high bar on these things that we need all our partners to meet. Thank you.
Thank you, Bailey. And I think just as the report notes, I'm very keen that all aspects of civic life reflect the diversity and also have equality embedded through them, and that we are very much committed to that. So we will be continuing to support them, and also perhaps as well as inviting yourself to join our next meeting with the moderator and vice moderator, we can look at speaking to some of our internal partners and external partners around equalities about how they can also support them. But there is very much a commitment from the leadership, as I mentioned, in the moderator and the vice moderator, when we've met with them, about understanding the need for moving on, and they have been very pleased that they've now got a number of women members, and obviously we are moving on that journey. As you say, the pace of change will need to keep up with the expectation of modern society. Okay, thank you. If there are no other comments or questions, can we agree the report? Thank you very much, and thank you, Mr. Hendry, for preparing the report. As I mentioned earlier, members, that report will be put together with the report that we approved in January to create a comprehensive civic strategy, which will be brought back for members to sign off on. As part of that, we're also looking at having the annual engagement report about all the civic activity that's been undertaken under the auspices of the Civic Office, and these are also to show the public about what we are doing, that we reflect the values that they reflect in terms of community and civic life. So it's important, I think, that we are as transparent as possible around what our operation is doing, and showing that we're doing it in the leanest, greenest way possible as well. So that will be open for members to scrutinise in due course. Other than that, that's the only item of business today, members. So thank you very much for your time, and we shall see you all in the coming weeks at the Twinning meeting, hopefully.